The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, Monday Night Raw, review.
Hello and welcome to the W2M Net Raw review. My name is Brandon. I am your host, and joining me for the second week in a row, Cedric Cologne. How's it going, Cedric?
It's going good. It's going good. How you doing?
Pretty good. So we start off with the Shield coming out, talking about how they got their business done at Fastlane, but now they basically go off in their separate ways. Roman, we don't know what he's going to be doing yet. He said he hasn't had a singles match in 5 months, and he wants to correct that and wrestle tonight. We'll talk about that more later. And then we're on the road to WrestleMania. Ambrose has his business to take care of too, whatever it is. But Rollins is the real business. Him facing Brock Lesnar, and Roman asks him how many years has he been chasing the dream, and then Slay the Beast chant starts up. Roman says that's exactly what Seth is gonna do, and just them basically just saying that praising Seth and saying that he's gonna slay the beast and everything. That brings in Paul Heyman, who says his normal thing. One thing I know was funny here was Seth trying to imitate Heyman with his whole Brock Lesnar stuff. So that got me, that popped me. And then it was kind of interesting, and I don't know if you follow like the rumors and some of the backstage stuff as much as I do, but this play, like, for whatever reason, I guess because Brock likes the dynamic between the two opposites. He likes facing smaller guys and seems to have better matches overall with the smaller guys. And they kind of reference this in this promo, but in a kayfabe way, where Seth was like, he can dominate all these big guys, but then when it comes to the smaller guys, he has issues, and it takes him a little while to get used to it. Paul, rightly so, I might add, and this is another good kayfabe way of explaining it away, mentions how for those matches with the smaller guys, all of those 3 matches against Daniel Bryan, against AJ Styles, and against Finn Balor over the last couple of years, he didn't have a full time to prepare for them because those matches were changed relatively soon to the matches starting themselves. All in all, what did you think of this whole opening segment?
I actually enjoyed it. Let me start by saying I think I heard the big dog in the background. So, Roman, calm down. I'm not sure that was the actual Roman Reigns, or that was your dog. I'm not sure.
No, that was my dog. Yeah, he was trying to get
in
involved. Yeah, he was
For some
trying to
reason,
get
I thought it was
involved.
Roman, so I was like,
Nope.
Roman, you need to no. Anyway, it was kind of odd to a certain point, but I'm actually they did it the way they did it, where the goodbye for the Shield was kind of very quick, very to the point, led by Roman, which, as we all know, he's currently and has been for a while the top figure in that trio.
Mm-hmm.
And he just went straight to the point. I haven't wrestled for 5 months. I need to wrestle. Dean is Dean, and I love the way they keep playing this whole he's not gonna sign his contract to continue with WWE. So whatever he's gonna do, he's gonna do. And then I'm glad that he put the main focus on Seth, because at the end of the day, Seth is the one that has the opportunity now to
Mhm.
wrestle for the title in WrestleMania.
Well, let me ask
So
you real quick first. Well, oh, were you gonna say something else?
no, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Let me ask you something real quick first. But before we move on to the latter part of the segment and then the match that resulted from it, what do you think about this whole Dean thing? Do you think Do you think this is all a work and he's staying? Do you think he's going? Do you think he's gonna end up in AEW? What do you think ends up happening?
I I think there has to be some sort of work on it, because I've never seen before WWE uh, hype so much somebody leaving and not signing a contract. One thing that I've discussed with other folks is what if down the road, for the first time in a long time, WWE has actually a partnership with another company that we're thinking is a rival. So I'm really curious to see how this is gonna all come out, because again, I've never seen before, and I've been following wrestling for at least 30 years or more.
Mm-hmm.
I've never I had never seen WWE hype so much someone leaving, because they keep mentioning it every single time that Dean is on the TV screen.
Yeah, that
So
is something that is weird. I don't know if I would go as far as, what you were implying there, like that WWE and AEW may have some sort of working relationship or something like that. That I don't think is the case. But considering how much they've been mentioning it and all of that, um I would love to see him go to AEW just to see what he can do, and because it would be a huge coup for AEW. But I have a feeling you're probably right that this is probably a work just because of how much they've been pushing it. Um, it feels kind of the closest thing I can kind of compare it to, and this worked as well, and part of it was a complete shoot. But the closest thing I can compare it to is the whole CM Punk Summer of Punk pipe bomb stuff, where he made it known that his contract was up and that he was gonna leave the company with the title.
and that actually worked for his time, but in this case, he doesn't, unless some last minute thing happens, he will be leaving no title. He's been pretty much on a losing streak outside of the
Mm-hmm.
victory that they had on Fastlane. So I don't know. It's gonna be weird. It's interest. It's gonna be interesting whatever happens, because
That's the only reason why. Like, again, this could all just be a work. I don't know what the reasoning for him losing per se would be. But that's one reason why I'm kind of wondering if it may be legit, because yes, they've been mentioning it a lot, and it we, like you said, we've never really seen this, with a few rare exceptions, in WWE before. But at the same time, they've been having him job out to people pretty consistently since this whole thing came out. So, could this be a situation of WWE, because he's not re-signing, and because he's made his intentions clear that I'm going to greener pastures, that they're basically, in essence, trying to bury him for the WWE only fans by having him lose all these matches and basically telling them that he's a traitor and stuff.
who knows? Who knows? Again,
Yeah,
it's it to do it that openly.
it is
That's the
weird.
part that's kind of
Yeah,
surprising.
definitely. Then after they do the whole thing, back and forth between Heyman and Rollins, Heyman says, "You think you know Lesnar, you don't know Brock Lesnar at all." And then Shelton Benjamin attacks Seth from behind, giving him a bunch of German suplexes and basically being like the the placeholder for Brock pretty much at this point. Um, what I mean, and I liked it because and they reference this a bunch, and I actually forgot about this. But Shelton and Brock were apparently both at the University of Minnesota at the same time, and they trained together and whatnot. They have the same sort of background. Yes, Brock did more with MMA and whatnot, but they both have that amateur wrestling background. What do you think about this? And I'm assuming that this is going to continue as basically Shelton being the the placeholder for Brock, so that Seth, in essence, has someone to feud with before Mania.
Oh, first of all, I'm actually happy that they explained the relationship, or even if it's just business, but at least the correlation that he and Lesnar had. Because if not, it would have been extremely odd.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh no,
out
I
of the,
definitely agree with that. I didn't even. I think I did see that once before, but I completely forgot about how they were both at the University of Minnesota. So like them explaining that definitely helps, especially even the more casual fans who may not know at all about their background. So it helps make people understand why Shelton is helping Brock.
yeah, definitely that was really good explaining, from their college to I think he even mentioned that he helped them train for
Mm-hmm.
wrestling as well. So
Yeah.
that was pretty good. Uh, I just feel sad, man, I remember Shelton when he started in WW, probably WWF. I can't remember if it was F or E at the time. Before where he started to now, that was such a huge name, and to see him now kind of just lurking in the shadows, um, it's sad, but at the same time, I'm happy that at least they're putting him into a storyline, and they might be using him a bit more because he is talented.
Mm-hmm.
People talk about some of the crazy stuff that Kofi's done with ladders and Royal Rumble, stuff like that. There's a lot of highlights of Shelton Benjamin and things that he's done as well, and
And,
for the company.
and you can't forget Shelton in the great, what was it, the greatest tag team of all time, or the I forget exactly the team name, but him and Charlie Haas, fellow Seton Hall alumni. So yeah, yeah, Shelton. I really started watching wrestling full time when he was at the tail end of his first run, when he was doing the gold standard and stuff, and he wasn't really doing much at the time, and then was released shortly thereafter. But yeah, it's nice to see him finally get something, and hopefully this will be something for both him and Seth to do in the next couple of weeks leading up to Mania. What do you
Yeah.
think of the match as a whole, first?
Again, it was kind of awkward because it came out of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
especially the released German suplexes a la Suplex City,
Mm-hmm.
Lesnar style, and but it, it was fast paced at moments, and it was a little bit slower paced than others. But for the most part, I enjoyed it. I like the fact that he even tried to do the F5 and
Well, yeah,
that left.
I was just about to say that. I kind of wish that he would have been able to hit that and then have like Seth kick out of it just to show Paul that yes, he can kick out of an F5. Yes, it's not coming from Brock, but still, this could be an interesting little mini feud. Like I mentioned, going into Mania of Seth facing off against basically Brock's black doppelganger.
Yeah, because it was pretty. It kind of showed that if Shelton can have his way with you during the match, even though he came on the losing end, he did dominate for a while.
Mm-hmm.
What can Brock, which is gonna be bigger,
Exactly.
they kind of make it seem like faster and more maniacal with his brutal attacks. What's gonna happen then? So even in the victory, I think they were trying to show like if Shelton can do this, what can Lesnar do to you? So it was interesting. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a lot of folks that because it came out of nowhere, they might not enjoyed it, but I enjoyed the storyline and I definitely enjoyed the explanation that led to this actual match. That's what
I
did it for
think
me.
I think another thing too, that a lot of more casual fans, not just on a pro wrestling side, but going into amateur wrestling and MMA and stuff as well, may not they may not get the correlation quite as much as some of us do who pay attention to it more. But yeah, this definitely works. The only other person that Shelton works fine, and I'm glad that he got this position. And I know this other person is already in a feud and is doing much more things than Shelton Benjamin is right now. But the other person that would have been interesting to have put into this spot is Bobby.
Mm-hmm. It is because Bobby has in the past publicly challenged Brock,
Mm-hmm.
and at one point, I thought that when they brought Bobby back into his current run, I actually thought they were gonna focus it more
I
on
thought they
him
were too.
against Lesnar, especially after Goldberg was focused with him because of the previous ending that they had on the past. I actually thought they were gonna bring Bobby to feud with Lesnar.
Now I don't know how well this would go, and this is complete fantasy booking, and I'm pretty sure Bobby would get destroyed on both levels. But just out of the curiosity of it and whatnot, I would love to see WWE either team up with UFC or whatnot, or do something where you have like a best 2 out of 3 situation with Brock and Bobby. Go amateur wrestling, pro wrestling, and MMA.
That would definitely be interesting because at what point do you put the actual how do you say it? Oh my gosh, I lost my thought. So we know these matches are predetermined. So
Yeah.
how much of that would actually be in it? You know what I'm saying? Like, could
Well,
you allow them to do at least part of it, kind of discussed previously, but most of it actual, amateur wrestling, MMA, and then finishing maybe with a wrestling match that would then be the part more choreographed, if you will. That would be interesting.
yeah, I mean, obviously the pro wrestling match would be worked out, but the other two, I would let them just go at it. The only thing about it that would make it kind of tricky is that depend. Well, what I would probably do is I would put I'd put one of the two legit, like, let's say, I would say do amateur wrestling first. Whoever wins that is going to lose in the pro wrestling match, which would be the second match, and then do the MMA match as the third, as the be all end all.
Definitely got to get the crowd ready for the possibility of blood, a la Randy Orton.
Well, yeah, of course, but that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't necessarily, like, yes, ideally you could do it all in WWE, but like the best way to do it would be to like team up with UFC and do the first two, do the amateur wrestling match and the pro wrestling match on WWE TV, and then let them go into the octagon afterwards. But it would be co-promoted between the two. That's crazy fantasy booking, but it would be a lot of fun, and I think it would sell a lot. It would be a big draw, that's for sure.
Have people talking.
Oh yeah, it would. Next we get the next contest scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
which I didn't do again on the first match because we talked about that. That's the issue with WWE with the opening matches, is that they transition directly from like the opening segment. So like I always forget to do it because I'm talking about the opening segment. But yes, this match is a match for the WWE Intercontinental title between Bobby Lashley, the aforementioned Bobby Lashley, and Finn Balor. Segway. Uh, this was an interesting match. I mean, it was a good match, all in all, from the beginning, and then the finish was very weird. Lio Rush comes out, who wasn't at ringside initially for this match because of Braun Strowman throwing him around like a ragdoll last week. But he comes out and starts ringing the bell over at ringside, thus distracting Finn Balor and allowing Lashley to get the win and get the Intercontinental title back. First off, what do you think of this match? And then I've got a follow-up question for you.
I kind of enjoy the match. They keep showing how strong Lashley is, how athletic, uh, his wrestling, especially mixed with his amateur background. He's a pretty good wrestler, and uh, also knowing his MMA background, you can see the total package during his matches. But we obviously know the results, and that to me is where I have a problem. You have Seth at the beginning of the show talking about how Finn took Lesnar to the deep end and almost won. But on this match, he was pretty much ragdolled, and I think ever since he won the title, he's pretty much ragdolled by whoever, whether it's Lashley or Corbin and McIntyre when they've teamed up, or three. So part of me is like, why put the title on him, knowing how much the fans have been asking for it, and just allow him to have the title for barely anything? That's one thing that.
Go ahead.
Was that? Well, that's the one thing that I did not like about that. But it kind of makes sense. If you're gonna put Leo back into the good graces of Bobby, then definitely Leo had to play a huge part on this victory. But again, it's still I enjoyed the match. The ending was kind of odd, but at the same time, I'm a big Finn Balor fan, and to see him just have that title barely enough time and barely even defend it, it kind of throws me back with R-Truth. I know I'm not part of the SmackDown review, but it kind of throws me to think, like, also when R-Truth won the U.S. title, just to lose it as quick as he did, like, what is up with these short reigns? Are you trying to appease the fans? Which, in all honesty, doesn't make it any better, because you've been waiting for these guys to have a title just to lose it so quickly. So I don't know. That was kind of odd to me. I enjoyed the match, but the ending still a little bit odd.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I just thought of, and you actually made me think about it when you were talking about how quickly Balor lost the title and how it feels so disappointing. The follow-up question I was going to ask you was, where do you think this leaves Balor going into WrestleMania? And what I was thinking was, especially, I know that automatic rematches aren't technically a thing anymore, but you could have Balor face off against Lashley at Mania for the title one-on-one, and he does something that he hasn't done in a while. I think you know what I'm talking about.
It's time to see the Demon King come out at least one more time.
Yeah. So bring out the Demon for Mania. It's the biggest show of the year. Use the Demon to to have him win the title. And then you can have him have a lengthy reign. Hopefully. But we'll see what happens there. hopefully it happens. I have a bad feeling that we're probably going to get some sort of multi-man match, maybe like a ladder match or something for the Intercontinental title at Mania. But we'll see what happens there. Next after that, we get Baron Corbin being interviewed, and him talking about his comments he made right after Reigns went away because of his leukemia. He says he's not worried about hurting people's feelings. He says again he wanted Roman gone. And now that he's back fine, but overcoming that disease took its toll, and he's going to get exposed tonight. Next we get Rousey coming out, telling the crowd to take their applause and shove it. Says she doesn't give a damn what anyone thinks of her. Becky's a coward. Yada yada yada. Next, after that, Dana Brooke comes out, which was weird. I don't understand why she of all people is coming out to try to defend the locker room or whatnot. But she says like she's always been fighting for a chance. She loves the business, all of that. Ronda attacks her, hits her with all of her moves. Eventually hits the ref. What do you think of this new heel Ronda, and where do you think this leaves her come Mania? Because like I saw something where like she's endeared herself to a lot of fans throughout her run up to this point, and I feel like no matter what you do with her, some fans will still like her. So what do you think of this whole thing, and who do you think? I mean, obviously Becky's going to get the biggest reaction at Mania. But how do you think the fans are going to be split at Mania?
First of all, this new Ronda, I love it, and it's not really new. It's not the new Ronda. This is WWE allowing her to be herself.
Yeah, true.
I really think this is who she really is. The shove your applause, calling bandwagoner the B word.
Yeah.
Talking about how one moment you like me and the next moment you're against me. That's pretty much what she's been at in her career. She goes from being the beloved one to having fans turn on her, even in MMA. So I really enjoy this persona, and I definitely like what she said at the end. I'm not gonna do my move. If you want to see me do an armbar, pay $60. Pretty much saying you'll see it on a pay-per-view, but I'm not gonna give it to you for free. That's Ronda being Ronda, and that was great. It actually, I think, it lifts her up more into her persona as the Raw Women's Champion. Dana Brooke coming out, I actually thought the same thing you did, that it was kind of odd, but going back and thinking of what she said, it kind of makes sense that it was her. It's almost like, here's a kind of, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I mean it in the realm of wrestling, in the business. She's pretty much a nobody when it comes to the who's in the women's division.
Oh yeah.
But I'm sure that she would like to be someone. She would like to be able to someday hold that title and actually have a good reign. So it makes sense for her to come out and say, you know what, you've been handed this because of who you are, and here I am, someone that's actually trying my best to get there, but nobody's paying attention because nobody really thinks I can make it. And truth be told, her wrestling is not the best, but she's still trying. So I actually, and the passion that she showed to me was real. So even Dana, applause to her. I take my hat off to her because she did a really good job to build that one segment as quick as it was. She did her part. So I think, like you said, most of the fans are going to be on Becky's side. Charlotte plays the heel so well as well that I don't think too many Charlotte fans are going to be there. But every time she does a chop, people are going to woo.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We all know that. And Ronda, I think Ronda's going to get the biggest heat from them. So it's going to be odd too. two heels versus not so much a heel, but she's like the Stone Cold where she has the rebellious attitude. So
Mm.
so I think it's gonna have everybody booing when Charlotte and Ronda, which I wouldn't doubt seeing them double teaming Becky. But
Mm-hmm.
if at the end of the night Becky wins the title, she's gonna get the biggest pop,
Oh yeah.
and it all was because these other two ladies played their part as heels perfectly to
Mm-hmm.
get to this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, it also helps that Becky has been, doing what she's been doing for the last, 6 months or so. The next contest scheduled for one fall
One, four.
is a tag match player between Aleister Black and Ricochet versus Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. This was pretty much just to take Bobby Roode and Gable out of the title picture. Aleister Black and Ricochet win with the Black Mass. Yeah, I mean, it was a good match. I mean, these guys can put on a good match with each other, all four former NXT guys. Uh, but this is pretty much just to get Bobby Roode and Gable out of the picture, and then Revival attacked Black and Ricochet afterwards as they were leaving. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's where we're going for the Mania match. Any thoughts on that match?
I just I would like for them to decide to leave Ricochet and Aleister Black on one of the brands. Yes, they can go to NXT and do their thing, but don't have them both on Raw and SmackDown. If they're gonna build the feud with the Revival, then leave them there. Let that feud build on Raw, and not do the whole Raw and SmackDown as well.
I'll agree
Uh,
with that, especially considering they're feuding for the Raw Tag Team Championships at this point. So,
and
if they're going after the titles on Raw, shouldn't they be exclusive to Raw?
and if you want to bring up another team to feud in SmackDown, then I would rather see that. Rather see a NXT team on SmackDown and then Aleister and Ricochet on Raw, and build it that way, because you can't really have them feuding on both sides for both titles unless you're gonna some way somehow make them have both titles, which will be really weird. So just put one team on one brand and then bring up another team from
Mm-hmm.
NXT to fight on SmackDown.
They probably
They're,
were gonna do that initially with having Gargano and Ciampa on one, and then Ricochet and Black on the other. Um, but now with now with Ciampa being out, um, you know, I they probably don't want to call up another team so quickly, especially because it dilutes NXT even more.
okay, so definitely then leave just Black and Ricochet on
Oh
Raw.
yeah,
The
definitely.
match was good. It's amazing the things that Ricochet can do. Alistair sells his Black Mass kick amazingly, and the people who take it, like this time Rude, they definitely sell that kick as being as destructive as it's being advertised. I kind of feel for Rude and Gable because
Mm-hmm.
we all know Rude before WWE, great career. His time in NXT was amazing, especially as their champion. And then gets brought up to the main roster, and it's been hit or miss. This thing with Gable, I didn't think it was gonna go anywhere, and it actually worked out. Especially some of their double teaming moves were pretty good, kind of
Mm-hmm.
showing what happens when two folks really mesh as a tag team. You can actually see the teamwork, not actually two individuals, which is more what you see with Ricochet and Aleister Black. And Gable was definitely shining in that team more than Rude himself, and that's what I liked about the team that they formed. I kind of feel if they now go to the back of the line, what's really going to happen with this team. But overall, the match, it did what it had to do, and then the aftermath definitely builds towards WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to Roode and Gable, I mean, I definitely like this team better than I did Gable and Benjamin. But
Oh
I
yes,
what?
Yes, I agree with you.
But I know he's injured and he may never come back, but they honestly shouldn't have broken up American Alpha to begin with. That's the one thing that I don't like about WWE lately is, and this has been a trend for a few years now, where instead of having these cohesive tag teams, they just seem to mesh two people together and just toss them out there and see what'll happen. Honestly, like, and I still kind of expected this, and I still expect this, and maybe now this will be what will happen is, Gable was being really annoying in the beginning of this tag team, and he still kind of is, and this could be the perfect opportunity to turn Rude heel.
They could, but hopefully, if they were to go that route, hopefully they have a good storyline to build it with. Again, I really enjoyed Gable and Rude. Gable at the beginning was just awkward to see him with Rude. And then yesterday when I saw him, the first thing I told my wife was, I really like the fact that you see all this emotion from Rude while he's doing his entrance, and Gabe was kind of just going through the motions. It made it really interesting. But
Yeah.
I hope they don't drop. I hope they build with what Gable has gotten as part of this team. But to your comment about breaking up teams, it almost seems that if a team doesn't get the pop that was expected, they immediately break them apart, which doesn't make too much sense because it really hurts the tag team division.
Oh,
to
yeah.
just have two random individuals unite, unless you get what we got with the Bar, two guys that were feuding on
Even
a best
that,
of seven.
though, I mean, part of it may just be because I absolutely despised how they got created. But even that still, like, yes, I know they are a legit tag team now and they've won, a bunch of titles and everything. They still just feel like two individuals that decided to team up together. And didn't even really decide to. They were forced into it.
Yeah, they're much better now than they were when they started. But I see what you're saying. But at least they actually ran with it. You have them wearing the same outfit. They have their little signature moves, their little slogan. So they're more of a team than, for example, even a Ricochet and a Aleister Black.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
I'll agree with that.
what I'm going with.
I'll agree with that.
And even Rude and Gable went from being two individuals to actually meshing, and you could see that. Yes, again, Gable shined as an individual, but when they were together doing double team maneuvers, it worked. It flowed.
Yeah, I can see that. Next, we've got a moment of bliss, and apparently she's going to reveal who the host of WrestleMania is. Did you see this coming? Unfortunately, I kind of saw it coming. I was expecting either a big announcement, I was expecting something like Hogan or something, or I was expecting it to be Bliss. And sure enough, it's Bliss.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what role the hosts have actually played in the past, but
Not much,
it was
really. I mean,
obvious.
New Day, the big thing New Day did when they hosted was reveal the Hardys. The Rock burned some stuff, but that was it.
It was obvious if Bliss is hyping up someone the way she did, she's obviously talking about herself. So
True. That's a good point. Next we get more SNL stuff. Braun getting a car from those guys and then proceeding to destroy it. What the hell are you doing with Braun, WWE? He was your hottest commodity just 2 years ago, and now poof. He's done.
yep, and I'm afraid they're building a big comedy
they definitely are. I mean, you can
for
see the writing on
WrestleMania.
you can see the writing on the wall right
Yeah.
now. Like he's just gonna they're gonna do like a 1-on-2 handicap match with those two guys from SNL against Braun or something like that, and he's just gonna wreck them, and that's gonna be it, and everyone's gonna forget about it a few weeks later.
You might forget about it by the end of the night. Yeah, that's one thing. My son was becoming a really huge wrestling fan, and when he saw what was happening to Braun, I think that was his last straw, and he still watches, but I don't see that same passion because
Mm-hmm.
he definitely wonders like where's the creative thinking behind you have a guy that wasn't supposed to get so hot, he did get hot, why not capitalize on
Mm-hmm.
that? And
Well,
now they've kind of forgotten about it.
welcome to the Wrestling Cynics Club.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, and you're right. We probably would forget about it by the end of the night, unfortunately. After that, we get more Elias stuff of him singing in the ring. He talks about Pittsburgh, which is his hometown. And then No Way Jose comes out and does a conga line and proceeds to gets drop kicked by Elias. Another one that I have no idea what the hell they're gonna do, and what they have done with him rather. And Elias also hits him with the drift away. We then get the announcement that Harlem Heat is going into the Hall of Fame, which good for them. I always liked some Harlem Heat back in the day. And then we get our token Lacey Evans appearance. There she goes, and here she comes, and there she goes. Go away, please.
Can't even build anything out of that.
No, you can't. It's just dumb.
She's getting
Go
to the
ahead.
point of actually contending for the NXT women's title, and then you bring her up for what reason to do this? I don't know.
I mean that whole out of that whole entire. What's ironic is that they had that at least fairly big call up group that they brought in. What, like 3 months ago or so? Like during the whole shakeup, and then they completely forgot about them. And then a few months later, they're like, "Oh, we need to call up more NXT guys to boost ratings." And those guys are actually being used well, but it's like you brought all of these people up from NXT on the last call up, and you've done absolutely nothing with them.
EC3, what's he been doing?
Nothing.
Lacey Evans, well, nothing as well.
The only ones that have even somewhat done stuff, but even this is kind of just like half and half, is Heavy Machinery.
Yep, and even that is half and half because the oh my gosh, what are their names?
Who?
We Young,
Oh,
Eric Young,
Sanity.
Sanity. They
Oh God, don't even
why
get
even
me
bring
started.
why even bring
Oh,
them up?
that's another one. I even forgot about her, and she was actually getting a push when they first called her up, and I was thinking they were gonna do something with her. We haven't seen Nikki Cross in like months now.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh my God, I remember reading on an article one day, or I forget where exactly it was. It was either like on an article or a podcast or something. It was like WWE is at the point, it's so bad now that you just have to laugh at it. Because it's not going to change. You just have to laugh at the stupidity.
Yeah, it's just I just feel bad that the biggest travesty of the night was, seeing No Way Jose show up with
Mm-hmm.
his homage to Naomi with the green hair,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets crushed.
Yeah.
Nobody even I think Michael Cole made a mention of it, and I like Corey Graves. If he's taking a page out of her book, put it back in that book with tape.
Yeah.
I love Corey.
Yeah. Well, that's the funny thing. We were talking about NXT call ups and stuff. Even look at the commentators who have been called up from NXT and look at how they have become shells of themselves. Corey Graves isn't the same Corey Graves that we had in NXT.
He's done amazing. I think he's a great commentator.
I mean, he's great, but
He's on both Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah. But I mean, he had it seemed like he did more and he had more fun when he was in NXT. Next
Probably
week,
more controlled now.
exactly. We have Natalya come out. She talks about how she realizes that she doesn't really have any friends. She thought Ronda Rousey did, but she doesn't. She doesn't have her back. She doesn't trust Nia or Tamina, but she knows her best friend will have her back, and that best friend is Beth Phoenix. So the next contest, scheduled for one fall, is a quick little DQ match between Natalya and Nia Jax. Bell rings. Nia starts beating up Natalya. Beth jumps in the ring, attacks Nia. Ding, 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 done. It was about a minute, if that. What?
I was gonna say that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, pretty much. Post match, they Beth and Natalya beat them back. Tamina and Nia retreat backstage, and then they proceed to get attacked by Bayley and Sasha in the back before getting pulled apart. Yeah, this was weird, interesting. I guess we're probably gonna get a tag match between Beth and Natalya and Tamina and Nia. Maybe that will determine who will be the Raw the Raw representative for the tag titles at Mania.
They're probably gonna do a three-way dance between all three teams, because I don't think they're gonna bring back Beth Phoenix to just use her on TV and not let her have a WrestleMania.
Well, what I think
moment
is
as well.
probably going to happen, and this was, I think I saw this as a rumor, or it was just people speculating on it, that it's going to be a fatal four-way tag match with Bayley and Sasha facing off against a team from Raw, a team from SmackDown, and a team from NXT. So Beth and Natalya could very well be the Raw representatives.
But then where would that leave Tamina and Nia? Oh, wait a minute.
In
Same
the
place
back of the
they
line.
are. Limbo.
What?
I said that will leave them in the same place that they've been, kind of like in limbo. Like they just
Exactly.
come out, do their thing, and then really I'm not sure what their thing is, and then they disappear.
It'll leave them in the don't call it the Moolah Battle Royal.
Yep. And I'm not really sure this whole Beth Phoenix thing is gonna work out too well. She's definitely not the Beth Phoenix that she once was. I like when the commentators yelled, "She hasn't missed a step," and I was like,
Yes,
are
she
you
has.
seeing the same? Are you seeing the same segment that I'm looking at? Because you can tell that she is nowhere near what she was back then.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not saying that she was that amazing wrestler as well. I was very surprised when she was put in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But it's not. I don't know. Again, like I agree with you. I think that would be a better match for WrestleMania. So
The
again,
one
feel bad for Eddie. The way you mentioned the the tag team champions facing a team from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, that actually sounds like a really good match for WrestleMania if built correctly,
yes.
especially the NXT, whoever the two ladies from NXT are gonna be, they have to at least be seen on TV before they push them to that
I would
match.
assume at this point that if they were going to go this route, that the NXT representative would be the Sky Pirates.
Okay.
Um, but one thing before we move on, I wish, and I mean, I'm okay with Natalya and Beth. And like you said, I was never really the biggest Beth fan. I was surprised that she got into the Hall of Fame as well. But you know who I wish they would have brought in? And I don't know if it's scheduling or what, but what would have worked better as a, this would have been a full Legends based team instead of only half. But I would have loved to have seen Lita and Trish be the Raw representatives.
Again, during their careers, they played their role, and again, the whole Hall of Fame before some of the other ladies didn't make too much sense to me. But based on their popularity, yeah, that would have definitely sold, and that would have definitely had the fans um, excited for a match where those two would have been part of. I wasn't very impressed with their latest matches that they had,
Mm-hmm.
and what seemed to be a return, but really was just a one or two off. But definitely, if they would have stayed around, or if they actually came back and they built a good storyline behind it, at least for purposes of the excitement and the ratings and having people waiting for them to come out, yeah, that would definitely make sense.
Next, we get Batista coming into the arena with a bunch of security. Triple H goes to the ring. They go back and forth. We get Batista saying, he's learned from the dirtiest players in the game. I know that you're gonna try to attack me, so these security guys are here for my protection. It's funny. One of the funnier moments was Triple H basically saying, like, what do you think all of these indie guys are gonna do to me, or something along those lines.
Guardian of the indie scenes.
Oh yes, Guardian of the Indie Seeds. Yes, there we go. Yeah, that was a great line. They just went back and forth a bunch. It was a really good promo. And Triple H kept on trying to get Batista to get into the ring. Batista refused, said, "We're gonna do this on my terms. We're gonna do this at Mania." And Triple H says, "Okay, you want it at Mania? We'll do it at Mania, but we're gonna do the match on my terms, and it's gonna be a no holds barred match. This is gonna be a fun match. That's for sure."
Yeah, I loved the passion from Batista. You could see him shaking. I wasn't sure if he was just nervous because he he himself admitted that his last time that he came out, he was extremely nervous before coming out.
Mm.
But his passion, now all the spitting,
Yeah.
that was, it added to the passion. But I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of spitting. But when he starts yelling, "Give me what I want," and he finally says what it was, which was a moment, his last WrestleMania moment, where he decides how to live in his own terms. It actually built. I was like, man, I was expecting something else. I don't know why, but when he said what it was and the passion that they showed and how he kind of like calmed down, and I enjoyed it. I even enjoyed when he told Hunter, why? I did quit, and you know why I wanted to get away as far away from you. I
Mm.
was like, wow, turning something that really happened and putting it into the storyline is amazing. Is always great for business.
Mm-hmm.
And these two older gentlemen, are we gonna see what we saw when they were at their peak and Batista was the champion, those
It,
three
it
almost
probably, I
consecutive
mean,
matches.
in terms of match quality on a purely technical level, we're probably not going to get that. But
Ah,
that's what the no holds barred
yep.
match allows for you to do, is that you can just allow them to do more brutal things. And considering the history between these two and the no F's given you know, uh, personalities and mentalities that these guys have, I have a feeling we're gonna see something that we haven't seen in a few years in WWE. You know what that is?
Blood.
Yup. So I think both of these are gonna be getting some color. Both these guys.
And it also it being WrestleMania and it being a no holds bar, it opens up for who knows guest appear a one time appearance of old vets that haven't
Mm-hmm.
been seen or heard of for a while. So
Exactly. Yeah, there are so many possibilities with this match. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun not only for the match itself once we get to Mania, but also to see how they further build this in the weeks forthcoming.
mhm.
Next after that, we get Kurt Angle coming out. He talks about his past. He talks about how he left Pittsburgh to compete in the Olympics, where he won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. And that led him to WWE and all of that. He's faced about just about every legend and Hall of Famer in the business. He considers Pittsburgh his home, and that's why I wanted to save this announcement for tonight. His final match will be at WrestleMania. No idea who it will be yet. No announcement yet on who that will be. But then he says he'd like to thank everyone, and then he also says, I want to have one more match in Pittsburgh before I retire as well. Apollo Crews comes out, and we have a match. First, let's talk about the promo. What did you think? And I mean, we kind of saw it coming for a while, but what do you think about at Mania seeing Kurt Angle for the last time?
It's a good way to go out. All right.
Mm-hmm.
When he left the company, seeing him in other companies, even the independent scene, it was sad to even think that he might not come back.
Mm-hmm.
So I really, when they brought him back, Hall of Famer, and now to possibly see his very last match at WrestleMania, I think that's the way a legend that's done so much for the sport and for the company should go.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely.
so I'm definitely happy that he's gonna have that opportunity.
So we have the match between Apollo Crews and Kurt Angle scheduled for one fall.
One fault.
And this was a pretty good match. This was a fun little match. Both of these guys have a background in amateur wrestling, and you could see it in this match. Um, it wasn't, it wasn't all that long of a match, but it was a good, solid match. Kurt Angle won with the Angle Slam. Um, any thoughts on this?
I just again, this is one of those. This is the famous scenario that we've discussed and many people have discussed, where you have a talent like Apollo Crews really hasn't gone nowhere. I don't think he went anywhere even during NXT, and now he really hasn't gone anywhere since he's been on the main roster. But what a talent he is! I hope at some point he gets a good push towards, even if it is a mid card title. The match itself, it kind of saddens me to see that how Kurt has kind of declined, because even his last matches in the indie scene before he joined WWE, I was actually amazed how well he looked. One of the matches being him against Cody. I thought that he looked amazing for his age and that he could still give it his all. But once he got back to WWE, kind of saw him slow down very rapidly. And even in this match, as fun as it was, you could tell that he really has declined. and there wasn't really much to it. Like there wasn't like a build up of us knowing how big of a fan Apollo is of his. So it was kind of weird to see Apollo be the one to come out. But then again, who else could it have been unless you wanted to do a last match against Baron, and then what would have happened? A loss for either one would have been devastating, I think, at
Mm-hmm.
that point. So, but it was good. It was a good match. It's a good farewell match, I guess, for his Pittsburgh fans, and glad to see him that he's gonna get that farewell at WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, definitely. We get Roman Reigns coming out for his match against Drew, but that match never happened because Drew ambushes Roman before the start of the match, throws him into the post, and then hits him with a claymore. Hits him with two claymores actually. Um, and he promises Roman that this is just the beginning. And Seth and Dean come out, or well, just Seth comes out at first, to check on him, and they get him back into the back. Roman says he's just got a little headache and he's okay, and they go back to the trainer's room, where Roman agrees to go get checked out. Dean is right there too, and tells Triple H, "I want a match against Drew tonight. Falls count anywhere," and Triple H agrees. Before I talk about that match, what do you think about this whole thing?
Well, I'm just happy to see that the old wise owl still has it. Where last week I mentioned, that as much as a Baron Corbin versus Roman Reigns feud made sense, throwing a little curveball of Drew versus Roman Reigns, and sure enough, I think first of all, the Scottish psychopath looked as much psychopath as he's
Mm-hmm.
looked before. His Claymore kick is beautiful. It reminds me when the bro kick was being advertised as the lethest move in
Mm-hmm.
WWE. His Claymore kick just is believable,
Oh
and
yeah.
Roman played it very, very well. And now his new move where he grabs your head and he hesitates that punch and then hits you with it, like they both did their part and they made it believable. And then Roman's post beatdown reaction, he sold it very well. He even looked nauseous. He was actually selling a concussion
Mm-hmm.
very, very well, to the point that when they showed the first Claymore kick that actually connected a little bit, but Roman's head bounced off the ground when he swung himself back. I was like, man, I wonder if he is concussed.
Mm-hmm.
And then the way he hit the pole, like he literally saw that very well. The
Mm-hmm.
walk towards the back as well with Seth, kind of like fighting with Seth. I don't need your help, but then all of a sudden he started like tumbling. So he said, you know what, help me out. And Dean, being Dean, like he's just looking all crazy, just almost like mumbling, talking to himself. That emotion this set up for this match, and I actually enjoyed this whole segment.
Oh
Again,
yeah.
Reigns, I agree with you 100% this week more than last week. If WWE does it right and slowly builds on Reigns, their experiment that failed so badly previously may actually work this time if
Exactly.
they play it right.
Exactly. And they played it right this week. Yes, they had them come out in the beginning, and yes, they were the main focal point at the end as well. But it wasn't Reigns on his own. It was the whole Shield, and Reigns looked very vulnerable at this moment. And that's how you want to build him at this point, where you don't want to make him be, this juggernaut again.
Hmm. And
Um,
Drew looked amazing. Drew looked just even bigger than him physically.
exactly. Um, After that, like I mentioned, Dean demands a Falls Count Anywhere match with Triple H from Triple H. He says, "Hell yeah, let's do it." So that our main event scheduled for one fall
One fall?
is a no disqualification Falls Count Anywhere match between Dean Ambrose and Drew McIntyre. And while, yes, if this were back in the day, it would have been even better. This was a great match. This was a lot of fun to watch. All of the spots that they did, all of the different moments they did. One of the funniest moments, and I don't know if you caught this, but when Drew low blowed Dean, did you hear Renee's reaction?
Yeah, her. Not only did I hear it, the cameras actually put their view on her, on the announcers, and her reaction was like she just threw her hands up and turned around like I can't see this.
Yeah, yeah. He's hurting her babies. She doesn't like that. But yeah, this was a great fun match. I know there's a lot of fans who prefer the more technical matches and whatnot, but you gotta love a good old fashioned brawl.
Yeah, definitely. It builds Drew even more. Not only can he fight a technical match, he can also fight a no DQ type falls count anywhere match, showing how brutal he can also be on that side of the aisle.
Yeah.
So I can brawl with the brawlers like a Dean Ambrose when Dean is left to be the lunatic fringe. I can brawl with that Dean, but I can also go in and fight a Kurt Angle in a technical match. I'm the total package.
Yeah,
Pretty much
exactly.
what he's telling the universe.
Yep. But let's not give Vince any ideas and call him the total package. Let's not make him turn him into Lex Luger 2.0 or anything like that.
No, please don't.
But yeah, this was a great match, great spots. One spot in particular that I've always said, and I think they have done it a few times here and there, but whenever there's like a falls count anywhere or no DQ match, in a hockey arena, I love when they actually use their environment. They use the hockey boards. Well done.
I'm glad that they also show what happened during the commercial break.
Mm-hmm.
The tables and the area where they were selling the shirts and stuff. I'm glad they actually showed us that because that was also pretty interesting as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was a great match overall, and a lot of fun to watch, and a great way for the show to go off the air. Drew wins with a Claymore while Dean's head is sticking out of a stair pole, which was pretty brutal. And then Drew just kept on going after the match. So yeah, this really makes Drew look very strong.
Even the pen eye poke.
Oh God!
Even though it was obviously you could tell that it wasn't real, but even in slow mo, he sold it really well. And the fact that he did that, the announcer's reaction was like, "What the, this ain't ECW. What the heck is going on here?" That was pretty good as well.
Oh yeah. These are the match. I want to see more of this in WWE. Overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give this show?
Man, I would throw in some fractions in here. I think I would go 8.75 because it was a really good show. Almost a 9, but I'll go with 8.75 because it was really interesting. It was a really good after a pay-per-view build up. It just continued to build towards WrestleMania, and I don't know if they don't fall flat in the next 26, 27 days towards WrestleMania. This could be one of WrestleMania to remember for a while.
I agree with you. And I've been saying that for a couple of weeks now, but I have not trying to be too negative on the road to WrestleMania, but but I've said that in the past of certain Manias, looking at the card, that it looked like it could be a very good Mania, and then they proceed to make it fall flat. I'll give it. I'll go slightly lower. I'll just give it a straight up 8. A lot of it was very good. But some of the filler stuff and some of the smaller things, they just need to get rid of it. Like the whole Lacey Evans thing is just ridiculous. You know why, especially if it's someone that's on the roster already, why do you even need a host of WrestleMania? The whole Braun thing, I wish that they would make him look more menacing. But besides that, the Kurt stuff was good. The Triple H Batista thing really got me pumped up for Mania. The Drew, Dean, and Roman stuff was great. This was a very good show overall. What would one word review for this?
I can't remember what I said last week. I think I said hopeful last week. This one will be. There you go. That's it.
Woof.
Yeah, what he said.
Just bark.
I would say this was exciting. It was a very exciting show. I enjoyed it from top to bottom, and I agree with you. The only things that didn't make it a solid 9 were the small little shenanigans outside of the ring. But what happened in the ring and the storytelling and the push, it was exciting to see, and can't wait.
I'm gonna use a word that has multiple definitions that can all work for this show, and it's brutal. You had the brutal matches and the brutal moments on a positive level between, with the whole Nia Jax and Tamina thing against Natalya and Beth Phoenix, and then the Bayley and Sasha beat down in the back. You had the whole Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose stuff at the end. You had the brutality and just the rage you could feel between Batista and Triple H, and then getting Ray for the no holds barred match. That's on the good side. But then on the bad side, you also have how brutally bad, the whole Lacey Evans thing is, and some of the other segments. So it works on multiple levels.
Agree.
So that'll just about wrap it up for us here. We'll be talking to you next week again for Raw. Be sure to check out Harry and I for SmackDown Live tomorrow. And, well, tonight, technically, or tomorrow. I don't know when we'll record it. But, yeah, for Cedric Cologne, I'm Brandon Biskobing, and we'll talk to you next week.